All right, so get ready. We're diving into the world of art theft. Today, it's Jerry Bader's The Axel Files, Finding Lunia.
Interesting. It's a bit of a classic,
Yeah.
a noir detective novel.
Yeah, totally. It's got all the classic elements, like a cynical detective, the whole shadowy art world, stolen masterpieces,
Hmm.
and a mystery that, spans continents.
You know what's really interesting here?
What's that?
Bader actually sets the story in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. It's not really a city you usually associate with, like international art theft.
Exactly.
Right. You usually think Paris, London, maybe New York.
Mm.
But Toronto, not so much. So anyway, Toronto is where we meet Axel Webb. He's our protagonist. And he's not your typical detective, He's not all happy-go-lucky.
No, not at all. He's got this deep cynicism.
Yeah.
And he's very distrustful of anyone who seems perpetually cheerful.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's seen too much of the dark side of things.
Yeah, like the underbelly of society. That kind of darkness.
Exactly. And it's made him jaded.
I kind of find that relatable.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever, worked in an industry or been in a situation that just made you cynical?
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, totally.
At some point.
For Axel, though, it's like his whole life, he's dealing with art thieves and forgers and, people who are just, exploiting beauty for profit.
Right. I mean, in a way, his cynicism it's almost like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
To protect himself from being disappointed or betrayed.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be a big part of his world.
Totally. Okay, so how does this whole, missing Modigliani thing, how does it end up with Axel?
Well, it all starts with Jacob Lerner. He's an art student, and he makes a pretty shocking discovery.
In a trash bin.
Yes, of all places.
Can you imagine,
Look.
taking out the trash and boom, there's a masterpiece?
Right. So Lerner finds this rolled up canvas in the trash, and he just immediately knows there's something special about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So he takes it to Axel, hoping to get some answers.
Okay, so what is it about this painting that makes him think it's so special?
Well, it might actually be La Femme à la Vente.
Oh, wow.
One of the masterpieces that was stolen from the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris.
Okay, and when was that?
Back in 2010.
2010, okay.
And get this, the person who claimed to have tossed it in the trash, peccadilloes,
No way! Bijou! The art thief.
the one and only.
The irony is, incredible. It's almost like Bader setting us up,
Yeah, he's playing with our expectations.
Totally.
For sure.
Okay, so I'm thinking, how does some random art student connect this painting to a famous heist?
Right.
And, how does he even know about Bijou?
Well, that's where Zelda Cohen comes in. She's Axel's head of research. And she's brilliant.
Okay, what does she do?
She notices something about the way Jacob's dressed, his style,
Uh-huh.
and it triggers something in her memory. She remembers that Modigliani himself had this really unique fashion sense.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and she puts two and two together, realizing that the painting Lerner found, it could be the missing La Femme à la Vente.
She's like a human art database.
Totally.
Crossed with, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, before we get too deep into the present-day investigation, let's rewind to that heist in 2010.
Okay, so picture this. Paris, 2010. We meet Valentin Tutin, also known as the Spider.
Ooh, the spider. I like that.
Right.
Very mysterious.
He's the mastermind behind this whole museum heist, and he's, incredibly skilled.
Yeah.
And meticulous.
So he's not just, smashing and grabbing things.
No, not at all. He studies the museum layout, disables security systems, the whole works. It's almost like he develops this emotional connection with the artwork he steals.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, what does he take?
Well, there's a Leger, a Matisse, a Braque, a Picasso.
Oh, wow. And, of course, the Modigliani.
Right. And, there's this really interesting scene where Tutin is surrounded by all the stolen masterpieces, and he's just captivated by them, their beauty, their history. It's like a glimpse into the mind of an art thief.
Yeah. He takes all five, right?
He does. But there's actually one painting that almost joins the collection.
Oh, really? Which one?
It's another Modigliani called Woman with Blue Eyes.
And why doesn't he take it?
He's drawn to it, for sure. But something holds him back.
Like what?
It's almost like the painting itself warns him, like he hears a voice in his head or just gets this feeling of foreboding.
Ooh, spooky. So he decides to leave it behind.
He does.
Wow. So back in the present, we've got Lerner with this painting that might be the stolen La Femme à la Vente. And of course, Axel's a skeptic.
Right.
He wants to know for sure if it's authentic,
Right.
but he doesn't want to alert the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do?
Well, they turn to Montgomery B. Brown. He's an art historian, kind of a disgraced one, actually. But he knows a lot about art, like an encyclopedic knowledge.
Okay, so he's the guy you go to when you need to know if a painting's real or fake. And what does he say?
He declares the painting a forgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and not just any forgery. He believes it's the work of Bela Dorco.
Okay, who's that?
He's like this master art forger, livens it up in Ibiza.
Ibiza, sun, sand, and stolen masterpieces. Sounds about right.
Yeah. So they head off to confront Dorco, hoping to unravel this mystery.
Okay, so what's this Dorco like? Is he some, recluse hiding in a secret studio?
Actually, he's the opposite. He lives in this beautiful shinka. You know, one of those traditional Ibizan estates. Whitewashed walls, terracotta tiles, stunning views. And he's surrounded by his own forgeries, Modigliani knockoffs everywhere.
Wow.
And he totally embraces his reputation. Like, he sees himself as an artist.
A master of deception. I like it.
Right.
Okay, so what does he say about the fake Modigliani?
He confirms he painted it. And get this, he even has a phone conversation with Monty Brown.
So they know each other.
It seems so.
Interesting. So maybe they even, collaborated on this forgery.
Yeah. It's starting to feel like everyone in the story has some kind of secret agenda.
Yeah, this is getting complicated.
Oh, yeah.
If that painting's a fake, where are the real stolen masterpieces?
Good question.
Does Bigot still have them? Is there even more to this than we thought?
We'll have to wait and see.
We'll find out in part 2 of our deep dive into the Axel files. Finding Lunia. So we've got this fake Modigliani, a master forger, living the good life in Ibiza, and a whole bunch of questions that need answers.
Yeah.
Where do we even start with all this?
Well, you remember how Bigot claimed he just tossed those stolen paintings?
Yeah.
Well, that sends Axel and Zelda down this really interesting legal rabbit hole.
Okay, a legal rabbit hole. I'm intrigued. What's the legal angle here?
It's all about this centuries-old law. It's called market overt.
Market overt. What is that?
And, get this, it's actually still a law in Israel.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like something out of, medieval times.
Right. It basically means if you buy stolen goods, but you don't know they're stolen, you actually get to keep them. Seriously.
As long as, the transaction happened in an open market?
So the buyer's in the clear, even for something as valuable as a stolen Modigliani.
It's a pretty wild concept, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's a fascinating legal concept, and it actually plays a big role in the story.
Okay, so how does this market overt thing, how does it connect to the investigation?
Well, because of this whole market overt situation, Axel reaches out to Chief Inspector Ari Katz.
Katz. Okay, who is he?
He's from Lahav 433.
Lahav 433, what's that?
It's kind of like Israel's top law enforcement agency. It's this specialized unit that handles really serious crimes, similar to the FBI.
Oh, okay. So he's like their art theft expert.
Exactly. And, of course, he's also an expert on this whole murky world of market overt.
Okay, so what does Katz think about this market overt law? Does he actually think it would hold up in court?
He's pretty skeptical, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet. He thinks that when it comes to stolen masterpieces like these, a judge wouldn't really care about a centuries-old law, especially with, all the international pressure to recover stolen art.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's still willing to help Axel, right?
He is.
What does he find out about Bigot?
Well, Katz discovers that Bigot did actually spend some time in Israel, right after the Paris heist.
Okay.
But there's no solid evidence that he actually, sold any art there. However, there is this one seemingly insignificant detail that emerges, and it connects Dorco, our master forger, back to the investigation.
Dorco, the guy in Ibiza. What's the connection?
Katz finds out that Anton Becker was Dorco's house guest in Ibiza.
Becker. Who's that?
He's this shady art dealer, known for, let's say, less than legal dealings.
Okay, so how do they know Becker was with Dorco?
Photographic evidence.
Don't tell me. Shitoko.
You got it. Axel's Yakuza friend.
He's got eyes and ears everywhere, even in Ibiza. Okay, so now Becker is on their radar.
Yep.
He's the potential link between Bigot, Dorco, and those missing paintings.
Exactly. He becomes a person of interest.
So what does Axel do? Does he fly to Ibiza and, confront Becker?
He does, but he doesn't go alone.
Of course not. He brings Shitoko along.
You know it. For a little persuasion.
Oh, I bet Becker was thrilled to see those two show up at his door. So what happens?
It's a pretty tense standoff. Axel accuses Becker of trying to sell that fake Modigliani.
Right.
But of course, Becker denies everything, claims Dorco tricked him, Classic blame game.
Yeah, it's like a game of cat and mouse.
Exactly. They're both trying to outmaneuver each other.
But Axel being Axel always has a trick up his sleeve, right?
Oh, always.
What is it this time?
He knows about Becker trying to sell a treasure map.
A treasure map? What kind of treasure map?
It supposedly leads to some buried Nazi loot.
Okay, hold on. We've got stolen masterpieces, a forger, shady art dealers, and now Nazi treasure. What is going on?
It's a wild ride. But, Bader does a really great job of weaving all these seemingly random elements together.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, finding stolen art. It's like a glimpse into this whole crazy underbelly of the art world.
Exactly. Greed, desperation, all of it.
Okay, so what's the plan with this treasure map? Do they try to, like, buy it from Becker?
They decide to set up a sting operation.
A sting operation. Nice. Who's involved?
Katz, Shitoko, and Monty Brown.
Monty Brown, the art historian.
The one and only.
What's he doing there?
He's there to authenticate the map. They need to make sure Becker isn't trying to con them with a fake.
Okay, smart move. So where does this sting go down?
The Jaffa Hotel in Tel Aviv. It's a beautiful building, really historic, the perfect setting for this, high-stakes game.
Okay, so Becker shows up, wants to sell the map. What happens?
He demands $40,000 for the map.
Okay, but they don't have the full amount.
Yep, they're a little short. Katz and his team could only secure 93,000 shekels.
93,000 shekels. How much is that in U.S. dollars?
A little over $25,000.
So they're way short. What does Becker do?
He's not happy. Threatens to walk away. But Monty steps in, uses his charm and his knowledge of history to distract Becker.
Nice. And I'm guessing Shitoko's there, just looking intimidating.
Oh, yeah, Shitoko's presence definitely adds to the persuasion.
I bet. Okay, so eventually Becker takes the money, hands over the map.
It seems so.
What happens then?
Monty quickly examines the map
Yep.
and declares it a fake.
Oh, no. So Becker was trying to double-cross them.
It seems so. He was hoping to sell the fake map and keep the real one for himself.
Wow. That's bold. So they got him red-handed, right? Case closed.
Well, not so fast. Selling a fake map isn't exactly illegal. Unethical, sure, but not illegal.
Oh, right. So Katz can't arrest him for that.
Exactly. He needs something more solid to put Becker away.
Huh.
But lucky for them, he's got another card to play.
Okay, what's the play?
They arrest Becker.
For what?
Trading in stolen Holocaust property.
What? How does that connect to anything?
The map and overlay Becker sold, it's considered stolen Holocaust property.
Oh, wow. Clever. So they're using this arrest as leverage to get more information out of Becker.
Exactly.
So does he crack?
He does. Facing a long prison sentence, he makes a deal.
What kind of deal?
He'll give them information about a much larger operation. But in exchange, he wants his freedom and the fake map back.
A much larger operation. Who's running it?
Vladimir Bach.
Bach, the Russian mobster.
Yeah.
The one who wanted to buy those stolen paintings.
Yeah.
Okay, this just got even more interesting. What does Becker tell them about Bach?
Well, this is where things get even more complicated. And I think we need to save that juicy information for the final part of our deep dive.
Oh, come on. You can't leave us hanging like that. Fine. Fine, we'll have to wait for the grand finale. All right, so last time we left off with Becker, our shady art dealer, ready to spill the beans on Vladimir Bach and his operation. So, what did Becker tell them?
Well, the information Becker gives Katz is enough to completely dismantle Bach's network. This network was stealing, tons of art and antiquities. It's a huge victory. I mean, it shows what international cooperation can do, and it really shows Katz's dedication. But, for Axel, the story isn't quite over yet.
Wait, really? So even with Bach's operation gone,
Yeah.
and Becker, behind bars, there's still something bothering Axel. What is it?
Well, remember that feeling Axel had? That there's, more to this whole story than meets the eye.
Yeah.
That feeling, it leads him back to Paris. And this time, it's not about the money. It's, a personal mission. He wants to find the real La Femme Levantes.
So he's not satisfied with just, recovering the forgeries and shutting down that whole criminal network. What's driving him to keep going?
I think it's a few things. I mean, Axel's cynical. He doesn't trust easy answers, so that definitely pushes him to keep digging. But there's also this, sense of unfinished business. He wants to prove that Bigot still has those stolen masterpieces, even though everybody keeps saying he got rid of them.
Okay, so where does Axel start? Does he have any leads?
He decides to focus on Maison Moreau.
Maison Moreau.
Yeah, it's this interior design studio owned by Bigot's girlfriend, Nettie Moreau. It's a really sleek, minimalist place, lots of black, white, and gray. But amidst all that, there's something that catches Axel's eye.
Hold on. Didn't Bigot say he dumped those stolen paintings? Why would they be at his girlfriend's studio?
That's exactly what Axel's wondering. He starts thinking, maybe Bio's been playing this long con all along. Like maybe he's been hiding the paintings in plain sight.
Hiding them. As what?
As abstract art.
Whoa, really? Hiding masterpieces as abstract art? That's, like, super risky? How could he possibly get away with that?
Well, Axel notices that some of those abstract paintings, their dimensions are exactly the same as the stolen masterpieces. It's just a hunch, a gamble.
Yeah.
But, Axel's gut tells him something's up. He thinks Biget's been using Moreau's studio as a front, to launder the stolen art.
Wow. Okay, so what about Chitoko? Is he there too? Providing some of his unique brand of persuasion?
He is. Hutoko's always a factor. But in this case, it's actually his observation skills that help.
Okay, how so?
He starts measuring the abstract paintings, just using a tape measure he borrowed from the studio. And that's when Bigot realizes, like, okay, they're onto me.
I bet Bigo freaked out when he saw Shitoko measuring those canvases. So what happens then? Does Bigo finally confess?
He tries to stay calm, claims the paintings aren't for sale or anything. But Axel, being Axel, he comes up with an offer Bigot can't refuse. He offers Bigot a chance to walk away from this whole mess, no charges, plus a nice reward. But in exchange, Bigot has to return all 5 paintings.
So Axel's going straight to the museum with the real deal. Cutting out the middleman doesn't work.
It's a big risk, but Axel's thought it through. He contacts the museum director, Fulbert Henin, and makes the offer. Henin's desperate to get those paintings back, for the museum's reputation, so he agrees to negotiate.
What's Henin's reaction when he sees the paintings? Is he, like, relieved? Furious? A mix of both?
I'm sure it was all kinds of emotions. Relief, disbelief, probably some anger too. I mean, he was tricked by Bigot. But in the end, the paintings are back where they belong, and that's what matters.
Okay, but how does Axel make sure he gets his cut of the reward money? I mean, he's dealing with museum people, cops, and who knows who else. It seems risky.
Oh, Axel's got a plan. A brilliant one. And maybe a little unethical.
What does he do?
He negotiates a $4 million reward for the paintings.
Classic Axel. So in the end, he gets his reward, the museum gets his paintings back, and Big stays out of jail. The perfect ending.
Well, not quite. There's one final twist. It kind of makes you wonder if the whole Lunia mystery is really solved.
Oh, there's another twist. I knew it. What is it?
You remember that fake treasure map Becker tried to sell? The one that was supposed to lead to that Nazi loot?
Yeah. What about it?
Well, if that map was a fake, the real one has to be out there somewhere, right?
So, Jerry Bader's The Axel Files. Finding Lunia is so much more than just an art heist story. It makes you think about the art world, greed, fame, and it really shows you the lengths people will go to for those things.
It makes you question what's real, what's not. It even makes you think about, like, the nature of art itself. And the characters are amazing. They're these, like, larger-than-life personalities, but they're also really relatable. Their wants, their motivations, they're just as complex as the art they're chasing.
And Axel, our cynical detective. Yeah, he might be in it for the money, but he also wants justice, even if he goes about it in his own way. So, what did you think of the story? Head over to our social media and let us know. Share your thoughts, your theories. And if you haven't already, definitely check out the Axel Files, Finding Lunia. This deep dive, it was a good start, but there's still so much more to explore.
I agree. It feels like we have more questions now than when we started. Is that original Modigliani still out there? Will Axel ever really be free of the criminal world? What about Zelda? Will the relationship change? We'll just have to wait and see.
Until then, happy reading. And, as always, stay curious.